Welcome. So every organization is basically a system, right? But what happens when the parts of that system just can't talk to each other? Today, we are diving deep into something called anti-silo architecture. It's a design philosophy, really, that's all about breaking down those invisible walls that just hold everything back. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're working inside a box? You're trying to get a project done, but you just can't get the info you need from the team in the next room? Well, these invisible walls, these silos, they're everywhere, and they are way more costly than you might think. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to uncover the real cost of all that isolation. Then we'll get into the core concept of what's called a root strengthening architecture and the three pillars that hold it all up. After that, we'll explore the incredible impact of true connection and wrap up with how you can actually start building a more unified future for yourself. Okay, so before we can build anything new, we've got to understand why the old way is so broken. Let's start with the real, tangible costs of keeping things walled off. This, right here, this is the enemy, the silo. I mean, it seems like a common way to organize people, right? Put them in boxes based on their roles. But what it really does is create these isolated pockets that stop knowledge, data, and ideas from flowing. It's a structure that, at its very core, gets in the way of cooperation. And believe me, the costs here are very real. You get what's called shadow work. That's all the time we waste just trying to figure out who to talk to and how to get data. This, of course, leads to delayed decisions because progress just grinds to a halt. Then you've got every team with its own version of the truth, which means inconsistent reporting and massive blind spots. You literally can't see the big picture. And maybe worst of all, without shared knowledge, we're all just doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So the big question is, how do we fix this? Well, the solution isn't just a new piece of software. It's a completely different way of thinking. It's a design philosophy we're calling a root strengthening architecture, where connection is the default setting, not some add-on you tack on later. And this, right here, this is the core idea. It's just brilliant. Instead of running around putting little band-aids on all the branches, we go down and strengthen the root itself. We're talking about the very foundation of how our data, our tech, and our people all interact. Because when that root is strong, the whole organization becomes resilient. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty, the how. This architecture isn't just some vague concept. It's a practical framework, and it rests on three absolutely essential pillars that work together to tear down silos and build a unified system from the ground up. These pillars are our building blocks. First, shared data languages, so everybody's speaking the same vocabulary. Second, a centralized source of truth, so we can finally get rid of all those conflicting reports. And third, designing open access points, making it easy for all our tools to connect. You put them together, and they weave this incredible, new, integrated data fabric. Okay, first up, shared data languages. Think about it. For information to flow without any friction, every single system and every team needs to be speaking the same language, the same vocabulary. This just means setting up some common sense information standards so data can move around seamlessly without all those constant, costly translation errors. Pillar 2 is all about creating a single source of truth. And come on, we've all seen it. 10 different spreadsheets, all claiming to show the same number. The goal here is a control tower approach, kind of like what you see all around us here. All the data gets consolidated into one coherent, totally reliable framework. That way, teams can stop arguing about which numbers are right and actually start using them to create some real value. And that brings us to our third and final pillar, open access points. The easiest way to think about APIs is as universal adapters. They let all your different software tools plug into each other, just like an adapter lets you plug your phone into any outlet in any country. You can see it happening right here. This creates an incredibly resilient network where you can add new tech without having to tear everything down and start from scratch. All right, so we've built the architecture. Now for the good part, the payoff. Let's look at why putting this kind of total connectivity into practice is an absolute game changer. First off, speed. And I mean, we're talking about a whole new level of speed. When you don't have to wait days for someone in another department to manually pull some data for you, decisions can happen in minutes, sometimes even seconds. Progress just accelerates like crazy. Next up, you unlock something amazing, a real culture of innovation. New ideas just flourish when people can actually see the big picture beyond their own little task list. When you bring all these different perspectives together around shared, reliable data, well, collaboration becomes this powerful engine for growth. And finally, this all leads to systemic resilience. A truly connected system is just inherently harder to break because there's no single isolated point of failure. And this brings us right back to that core idea of strengthening the root, creating a foundation that can support the entire organization, even when everything around it is changing.
I mean, just look at this comparison. It lays out the transformation perfectly. In a siloed system, you're making decisions in days or weeks. In a connected one, seconds or minutes. You go from manually requesting data to having real-time access. An innovation culture that's stifled becomes truly collaborative, and a system that was brittle becomes adaptive. The difference just couldn't be more clear.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually start? Let's bring this down to a super practical level with some actionable steps you can take to begin breaking down those walls. First things first, audit your walls. Find the specific places, the departments, the software, the processes, where information always seems to get stuck. Second, when you're looking at new tools, prioritize integration. Actively choose the platforms that are built to play well with others. And third, and honestly, this is the most crucial part, you have to foster cultural connectivity. The tech alone isn't enough. You need leadership that encourages trust, inclusion, and a truly shared vision. So here's the bottom line. An anti-silo architecture isn't just some technical upgrade. It's a core strategy for long-term growth and resilience. Because when the system is truly connected, the entire organization moves as one. And that leaves us with one final and maybe most important question, the one for you to think about. In your world, in your daily work, what is the first invisible wall you're going to break down?